Hello, Asha fans, back for another episode of Behind the Bench, our interview series with Division I head coaches, previewing the 2024-25 regular season for Asha. Today we have Aaron Burden, head coach of the Basha Perry Bearcats. Coach, it's nice to see you after a summer. How was it?
It was a great summer. We've been just working on some stuff in the background. We got our fourth team this year. A lot of work to do, but luckily we have a lot of good support around us. Had enough guys to do it, found the ice to do it, and nice to just have another team on this side of the valley that gives players the opportunity to fill a gap that we couldn't fill earlier. Whether with the D3 team, it's awesome to have top to bottom. Everyone gets a chance to play at the level they should be playing at, and it's been a lot of success, but a lot of challenges at the same time. But we're excited for the season. Honestly, it's going to be fun.
The Bearcats program is growing. How has it been for you in terms of getting back on the ice? I know you said you've done a lot of summer skates. How was it, and what are you guys getting ready? What are the different things that you're doing to get ready for the season?
I think it was just to expose the whole program to what we are, bringing in so many new people, top to bottom. Not even just with that new team, 20 kids coming in. I think the whole turnover has been huge. So what we like to do is just put our faces in front of them and let them know that they're welcome to skate. We got ice time for them to develop and give them a chance at evals to have a little bit of confidence going into it, knowing that they didn't sit for 3 months. They have the option to, no judgment too, but you always want to give that outlet to try to develop without, you know, making them go go a million different places. They can just come to Gilbert and regular practice time all year. It's all familiar. So, but after that, it was ramping up straight through evaluations, and last weekend was busy too. So we're ready at D1 to start, and I'm looking forward to all of our other teams this weekend, seeing what they have to offer because it's a lot of new faces. So it's exciting to see.
Let's get into that turnover. We'll start with the players that you had graduated offensively from last year. Two of the main ones, of course, Parker Stepien, Hayden Stott, both graduate. How do you kind of, sum up their careers and what they brought to the program over their years with the Bearcats?
So Parker is there's always pillars of Basha Perry, and I think Parker's is definitely seated himself there with guys like Cote, Joshua Shunk, all the way Carson Bowman, Alex Walsh, those types of guys. That is just a 4-year guy that dedicated a lot to us, and I'm celebrating his successes right now, and I'm hoping for his best in the USPHL next year. He's a great kid and a great leader. And Stott didn't have as much time, but usually the guys with less time ramp up pretty quickly. He took on a role that was kind of more like Cam Cable coming in his last year, and very pivotal pieces, really good leaders, really more than they know it, got our guys ready this year. And not to replace them or anything, but they left that spot open, and there's many capable people of stepping on in there and wanting to do what he did for them. So it's more than hockey for them. It's kind of putting the trust in our program, showing that we are a serious option for development in different aspects, and just more ice time to have some fun and basically have a homecoming back to Gilbert and seeing all the guys that you saw at one point and maybe thought you had a rivalry with at one point, and remember how they're friends. So it's a large investment. Stepien had almost more time than me here, and just sticking out through the process, understanding what we do and learning over time to shape it, kind of make it how he wanted to be before he stepped away and had to leave it. So it's both of them have been extremely impactful. Same with the back end we were talking about before, but like Josh Sherman kind of comes in and out, or Joe Miller, all great guys that really set up success for this year.
When you talk about your turnover offensively, you lose those two key guys. We're going to get into more of your turnover offensively, but a guy that you bring back, and he's a pretty good goal scorer, Nick Wolf, right? 20 goals last season in his junior year. You bring him back. How excited are you to see him play another season? And who knows how many goals he could have this year?
Yeah, it's I think the thought was in my head for the last couple years, and I think it's kind of shined more recently that he's a wild card. He can score at any moment. He can really shift the whole game aspect. He can get under skin. He can get through players. It's crazy how shifty he is, creative, and just stepping up that mental game this year. He's dedicated to. He wants to win, you know, like any guy. I know he has the most fun out there. But he's in it to the point where, you know, every year I tell him you got 21 games you can that you are guaranteed, and you control the rest. And you know, and I say that to top to bottom because you never know, like you're saying with the turnover, you never know when your last Basha Perry game is actually. So what do you want to do for the people around you? What do you want to do for yourself? And what do you want to succeed in? And I think Nick is kind of locked into win or nothing at this point. Real desperate for it. So I'm expecting for him to put everything out there this year, and whatever that means in points, it could get really scary, honestly. So hopefully the best from him, and the pieces around him, and just kind of leading in a statistical aspect. And off the ice too, taking that step to the plate and hopefully making contact with it. So yeah, I think he's going to do well.
His stats last year up there with the Gramlicks and the McCaukeys in D1 last year. Let's talk about that turnover offensively. You lose a couple players that you expected to have, especially Jackson McCutcheon, who had a great year last year with Basha Perry. You lose those guys, it hurts. But who are you going to bring in those spots, and who are you expecting to have big roles with Nick Wolf offensively?
There's there's the roles to fill are, you know, they're coming from everywhere. Of course, we had an excellent D2 team last year that, you know, you might not hear the names as much, but they're right there with the other guys. That's just getting more ice touches, more repetition. At the forward end, it's Zayden Chesley. He's an outstanding player. His travel team, he unbelievably performed last year. You know, you might not see it in D2 because, like any other guy that plays at that highest level for his group, he was in and out all the time. But he's developed into something special over the off season. We're bringing up some bigger seniors that know how to fill roles like Brady Reynolds, Jackson White. You know, to that's all internal. But then at the same time, going into the year, you don't know what you're going to have, and he ended up with a group coming in that you know, took away that anxiety and you know what the question marks, because we got some solid guys like Zane Rocks coming back to play for us this year. He's a really good player. He's on that Nick Wolf level that would play well. Um, then there's a couple different guys. Connor Halgren's coming back from the East Coast to play with us this year. Um, Aiden Olszewski is good. And that's going on to the freshmen coming in. You know, guys like Chase O'Hearn. Geez, there's so many to count. There's like 9 of them, so I'm just trying to run through that. But guys like that are huge. But then it's also the biggest ask is for the guys last year that were on our team that you do know to step up and fill those roles. And I think guys like Max Cable are going to be there for you this year. Lucas Issue is going to be there for you this year. And I expect every single one of them front to back, because they've only gotten better over the offseason and they want it more. And I know it's more offense you're talking about, but defense wise too, Lucas Policinski, Jack Jensen, coming back up from the D2. He was on D1 at the end of last year. You know, all the way through guys that you would expect to be a leader and have been in that role, like Carson Boyce Goudreau or Brady Issue. So I basically went through the whole roster here saying how important, but that's what it takes to win a state championship, I feel like, is 20 guys. So excited for all of them and the roles they want to play, and how desperate they are to win, whether it's their senior year or they're doing it for seniors. They're kind of catching on that, hey, I want to win with these guys, and it would be nice next year, but I don't know what I'm going to have next year. So it's been huge.
In terms of that championship wishes, the last 2 years, you guys were one win away from going to the championship in the semis 2 years ago. Last year, you're losing the quarterfinals to Mountain Ridge, a really good team that's supposed to be in the top 3 this year. You kind of took my question there defensively. You returned those top 4 like you talked about defensively. How big is it to have those 4 back and have that chemistry already built in?
I think it's huge because at this point it's teaching we went from a cycle of every year teaching what we want to do to a point where these kids are just carrying what they've learned and kind of implementing it, so we don't have to sit there and tell them, hey, this is what we do, this is who we are, this is what we expect. We were actually having kids come in now that's not even needing to be taught that. They were there for the semifinal upset. They were there at the mullet to watch us. They want to be here. So it's those guys just reminding them what it is and kind of introducing them to the experience rather than explaining to them, and it's carrying that with some pride. So it's huge for them on the ice, definitely off the ice, even more. But I expect these guys they're going to be scoring some goals this year from both ends of the ice. We don't have one guy that's not capable of putting it in the net. So it's exciting with those four, and then what they're gonna produce after them. I trust them with the players coming in, and I think they're gonna have a lot of responsibility this year.
When you look at your team, you guys have played three of your four seeding games so far. You went 2-1. You have one more today against a really good team in Mountain Ridge. And you look at your roster, you've seen you guys for a couple months now. Is there any sort of recipe or certain things that you need to happen to have a successful year? How does Basha Perry have a successful year this year in your eyes?
I think you just bring a little bit of tenacity and audacity, honestly. We have to bring a chip on our shoulder. We know we have a good team. We have a capable team. Do we have the best team? Well, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, right? In one game situations, that doesn't matter. Getting back to, last year, I feel like it was a little bit of a disappointment, a letdown in the quarterfinal game because I don't think we played Basha Perry hockey. Usually it's just hard-nosed, we want it more type of hockey, and that's a game you're going to have to play every year, no matter whose team you're on, and not take it for granted, and kind of don't really care what others think about it as long as you're winning and you're playing a clean game. Go out there and stir the pot a little bit, and we have plenty of guys to do it if they're keep it smart. You don't want to be on the other side of that. Of course, we've gotten into trouble in the past where I can say that, and that means we're going to be goons, and it's not exactly what we want whatsoever. I never want that. Um, but it does take that chip, especially with the skill we have and the ways we have it. It's going to take a lot of just grinding guys down. But that being said, we were lacking some goals last year too. Like you said, there's Nick Wolf, and then there's, you know, of course he was there for 20 games. Parker did well, Stott did well, all those guys, but it was just being around the program for so long. It was just off not seeing as many goals last year, playing in a marathon. A sprint to 7 goals to see who can get there first and hold off the other team is what we're used to at Basha Perry, and not having any goals in that quarterfinal game. We knew we needed to retool a little bit and find our goal scorers and kind of stress like, hey, you guys can shoot the puck, So, but yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. After actually the seeding tournament, though, we've the first 3 games were, especially that Notre Dame, made me confident about having that edge, and we did lose 4-0, but at the same time, I don't think there was a moment where we let off the gas, which is a positive. Loss doesn't matter. You just want to see what the tempo is out there, what they're skating with, and I was really proud of them that game. So it's looking good.
Let's talk about your goaltending. You had a great year freshman year last year from Austin Gearhart. He moves on to play AAA hockey out in Ohio. So how are you going to replace him, and what's your goaltending situation going into this season?
I always well, it's always next man up, but in this case, it's Connie Streeter, so it's our Kachina, next woman up. We're gonna combat it best we can. I think Connie's ready for it. I mean, if you look at her stats last year in D2, it's not just me being confident in her. It reflects like she had a 9 something save percentage, was an all-star last year. Heading into junior year, some teams could be shaky in that situation, but we've had our experiences. We had a star in Alyssa Townsley, who's playing in the NCAA at this point. Um, we trust them. They're capable. They're ready. They do things just as good. I'm excited for Connie. She's wanted it really bad. She's a type of player, Basha Perry type of player that has a chip on her shoulder, and she wants to control the net. She'll be sharing with someone. I'm not 100% sure yet. But as long as she's producing, as long as she has that edge, it's Connie's net right now. So We're taking her into I haven't seen her yet. She was out of town this last weekend, but we know what to expect from Connie, and we're pretty confident with what we have up front to be successful all around every single player. So.
Coach, I want to end it off with this. We've talked about your offense, your defense, and your goaltending. How about you as a coach? You played 4 years at the ASU ACHA level as a player. You move on to become a coach. You've been a coach for a little while now. How do you think being a player and being in those trenches can kind of help the players that you coach now relate to you?
I think honestly, it's I'd love to sit here and say I'm a brilliant coach and a brilliant this and that and whatnot, but it's literally just the experience that I've had that I'm using from the start to coming in at 22 years old. That's all I really had to go off of. I know there's a knowledge of game, but teaching is a different story. It's really hard to communicate that. So it's just rolling with my experiences, what the feeling is, because usually what the coach is feeling is what the players are feeling too. But they have a closer connection with each other, whereas it's encouraging that and saying, hey, we lost together, we won together. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this together. And it's just building an atmosphere around it where it's like we're worth it. We're going to make it worth it if we're not worth it right now. And just signing everyone up and cashing those checks in the long run. It's a it's kind of hard to put it's just a hockey atmosphere, and that's helped tremendously build the program. It's helped get other guys on board. It's helped other guys look at us and say, well, that looks fun. So it's all everything I do is based off that experience, and everything else is filled in the gaps over time as I progressed. So it's been huge, and it's not the fact that I played anywhere specifically. It's more of just being able to play for so long and share those experiences and take the actual life skills that you get from that. That's not the NHL, and applying it and showing kids that, hey, maybe work this and this, and you can get a state championship, but you and I are both confident you're well equipped to go on, to your future and whatever you want to do after that. So that's mostly what it's been helping.
That's Coach Aaron Burden going into his fourth year as Division I head coach of Basha Perry. Coach, we thank you so much for the time and we wish you a great season.
I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you around the rink, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach.